6:33 a.m. Before you travel, I must advise you of a few rules. Rule number 1. No matter how lovely they are, do not pick the flowers. If you do, you'll never get rid of them. Rule number 2. If you see a tall man with no face, just keep walking. Whatever you do, don't stop to look at him. Rule number 3. If someone offers you tea, politely decline and keep walking. If they follow you, run. Anything is better than drinking the tea. And rule number 4, the most important of them all. Wear a watch at all times. Time is weird there, and if you don't have a clock on you, time will warp into nothingness and you won't know when to leave. That's all. Safe travels.
That's really terrifying.
Yes. I made you some tea.
No, thank you.
No, have the tea.
I'm okay.
It's your favorite tea. Have some tea.
Haley, what are we doing in this weird place that we... What are we doing here? Why are we in this linear city? That was horrifying.
Yeah, right?
Was that Slender Man? I'll never know. I don't want to know.
I'm gonna have to find the origin of that recording, because I want to know what the person meant exactly by that. Either way, I don't want to see a faceless person anywhere.
Like, what do you mean? What was it? Anything's better than drinking the tea?
Yeah.
Is that like have to do with how we use tea? Like, ooh, spill the tea. Tell me more. Was that supposed to be? Is that what it means? Because I don't think
know.
that's what that meant.
I think my interpretation was that it was almost like a Kool-Aid incident, or maybe not a Kool-Aid incident, but a assimilation
also
kind of situation.
Are there other people? Like, there's clearly someone offering you tea, but is there other people, or is it just the one guy and a Slender Man?
She did say if anyone offers you tea, so anyone could apply either way.
I kind of imagine like a 1950s looking area. Like like all the men are wearing hats and all the ladies are wearing polka dotted shirts, but like nothing's correct.
I only see a bunch of ladies in aprons. And
Yeah.
they're like, I made you tea. They're like, no.
I think I've seen a video where they talk about this. Like, why is that era so creepy? Like, it's not by any means, but we put it in creepy standards, like Fallout.
I've thought about this. I think it's creepy. One, from like, this gets a little social, but I think from like a woman's standpoint, that's a really odd space and time.
Yes,
and
I can
it
agree
was
with
like
that.
Women in the house working was always glorified before that,
Yeah.
but it was really glorified in the 50s.
Could be because of the whole Stepford
submissive.
Wives.
This whole what?
Have you heard of the Stepford Wives?
I don't think so.
It was an old movie, and then it got remade later in the 2000s, starring Nicole Kidman. But it's about this neighborhood that this couple moves into.
Yeah.
And it's all very sweet and nice, kind of WandaVision-y. And all the ladies bake cookies, and all the men go to work. But then she starts realizing that nothing feels right, and she kind of stumbles on the idea that they're kind of taking the women underground and then brainwashing them, or like putting some chips in their brain or some sort of shit like that, making them robots. I think in the newer version, and just making them submissive. Like, and that's the creepy factor of it, is that this little neighborhood exists like that in the 1950s.
And that was a movie?
Yeah. It made
that.
in the 50s and then remade again. Yeah.
Dang.
So I think that fear was always kind of just established before in that time. Like, hey, isn't this weird? I could be wrong about the older one being in the 50s, but it was an older one. Let me see if I can find it.
While you're looking for it, I feel like it's also a time where people, they didn't have the kind of coping we have now.
1957?
That's 75.
Oh.
1975.
I read that all wrong.
That's
Oh,
okay.
and there's a book.
Really?
Yeah.
So
2004. Yeah, that's the one with Nicole Kidman. That's the one I remember the most. Yeah, Matthew Broderick was in it. And it just had all these like ladies just being just the cutest things, but they're all robotic.
Why it has like that WandaVision feel.
Yeah. Oh, it was directed by Yoda himself.
Really?
Yeah, the guy who voiced Yoda, Frank Oz. Yeah, Christopher Walken's in
Faith
it.
Hill?
Yep.
What? Faith Hill's in this.
Yeah. She's in here. I think
It's been a long time since
Yeah.
I've heard that name. I used to love her when I was little.
Yeah, the novel was 72. Wow, so even back then,
Dang.
the question of like, what does it mean to be a submissive wife was in the question.
Everyone back then is that dog in the house fire that says everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine.
They're in between World War II ending and Cold War scare.
Do you think that's the America they wanted to get back again?
I think that's what most they're called imbeciles, right?
Yeah.
Want now.
The red hats.
Is that they see those movies and those pictures and they're like, haha, that's
That's
what
it,
I
right?
need. Yep.
That's what they're looking for. I assume.
I absolutely think that.
Because
yes.
I never see a colored person in those films. It's always
Right.
always the wife being submissive. So I assume that's the America that they want, the great America they want again.
That's what I would
I
think.
assume.
I mean, think about it in terms of, this is a little heavy, but I actually know these things to be true, in terms of Roe versus Wade being under attack right now.
Ugh.
So a lot of women, some women in the past have been sterilized against their will.
Yeah.
And the ones who have generally are black, Native, Hispanic.
Yep.
And then white women have begged for sterilization, and one after the other. No.
What?
No. Yes. This goes both ways. It's really
That's
interesting.
insane.
It is it by the same fucking doctors. This is documented.
Hydra is everywhere.
Yes.
Jesus.
This literally is thought out. There
Yeah.
are doctors who think it is in their authority to sterilize black girls
That
and
is
have.
insane.
And they also, on the same token, to women the same age dealing with the same shit, will tell white women no, that they're gonna regret their decision, yada yada.
Yeah.
Ain't that interesting?
That is
So
insanity.
yes, I absolutely think that's what people want, because actions show.
Yeah. This ties in perfectly to my subject matter, the multiverse.
Multiverse
No,
and
it
Roe v.
does.
Wade.
It does actually.
Oh, yeah?
Did you ever watch it's a show on Netflix? Gosh, I can't remember. It's an alternate universe where God, I can't remember the name. All the women are sterilized. They all look like nuns, and they have to be submissive to men. And this is in the Handmaid's Tale. That's
okay,
the one.
I literally haven't watched or read it,
Yeah.
but it sounded similar enough
That's
to
the
what
one.
I do know.
Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
I'm dovetailing. Yeah, that's an alternate universe that
Okay.
people are kind of familiar with, because I guess it's set around this era, our time. Yeah. I didn't see a lot of it, but I think it's only the United States that actually does this weird little fucked up experiment with the what was it again? I forgot I keep forgetting the name.
Sterilization?
No, the show. They call them
The Handmaids.
The Handmaids.
Sorry.
Jesus, I'm having such a sandwich moment. The Handmaids is basically like an only American thing, and I guess the story is that the main character, she tries to escape to Canada.
Yeah.
Because once you're in Canada, it's fine. There's nothing they can do. But
Like in real life.
Like in real life.
We've been trying.
But I remember even. I watched like before the pandemic hit and with some friends, and they're like, that's terrifying. That could be in our future. I'm like, I don't know. Like I get it. I get the fear. I understand. But now with everything happening,
Yeah.
ugh.
Oh yeah.
I want to believe that we're all smart enough to not go to that future. Also, I assume that our zombie invasion was 2020.
Is COVID like our zombie invasion? Or monkeypox might be our zombie invasion?
Yeah, like we weren't allowed to be around people. If you're around a person, you infect them. I gotta imagine that's our universe's zombie invasion. I assume. I don't know. Like, I truly feel that all the media stuff that we see on TV is other books, books and
Yeah.
movies are universes that we can peek into. Books are a perfect example.
Okay.
You open one up and that's a whole little universe in your pocket right there.
So when you say that, real question.
Yeah.
Would that be like, okay, I wrote this book, now a universe is manifested, or I wrote this book as an emulation of another universe?
I feel like it could be both.
Okay.
Like, as much as I hate the woman right now, J.K. Rowling kind of envisioned Harry Potter and the Wizarding World that way.
Yeah.
That it's this world that she kind of tapped into and understands in her own manner. And she's like, I can give you this information because it's in my head, so I'm going to write it down and make this universe. That's the muse that a writer will get.
If that were the case, then a lot of us are gods.
Of course.
Because if we go... Also, this is such a small part of the world, but we're in America, so Christianity it's very relatable. But when you think of Christianity in, like, the Old Testament, that's exactly what God did in Genesis.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I want some animals now, and they just pop, they're there, yeah. And he's like, how about some light and some dark? Oh, let's make that spin around.
Yeah.
And I want this man and this woman to appear, and they just, everything just pops out of the fucking ground.
Yeah.
So if we sit here and we're just like, making up our own universes, then that would make us all gods in that same respect.
Yeah. That's I mean, we can totally get into that idea process as well, that like we're all kind of one interconnected like network anyways.
Yeah.
We all work similarly, like pulses in your brain.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You had a theory about that too, didn't you? Or something like that about the multiverse being like cells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it goes actually right along with what you're saying. Essentially, the idea would be our, like, trillions, because I don't know what's beyond trillion, but like with trillions of cells, bacteria, microorganisms in our body and on our body, because we also have little buggies and things that are on us we can't even see, but down to the like molecular and atomic level, you're looking at life, you're looking at motion and energy, and these things are individual and they are alive and they are functioning so that we can live.
Yeah.
And it's you know how the atom's the building block.
Yeah.
Well, the atoms end up making the cells, and the cells end up making us. So there's just building block after building block after building block. So here we are on this earth. What's not to say that we aren't part of that building block?
Yeah.
And when you think about the quantum or atomic level, I'm not sure which term would be correct.
I think it'd be quantum.
When you look at the quantum level,
Yeah.
and even cellular, this actually would translate to the same.
It'd be about, yeah.
Different parts, like your neutrons, electrons, protons, your nucleus, and the organelles inside the cell, they're very far away from each other in such a way that we've been able to compare it to how far Earth is maybe from the sun, or how far the sun is from the edge of the galaxy.
Right.
And these distances have been compared. Like they scale down, they scale up. And so it makes me wonder if we just carry infinite universes, universe after universe after universe after universe, because who's not to say that that's not us?
Yeah.
I mean, heck, maybe part of the reason the Fermi paradox is a thing is because by the time you get so advanced, we're dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about that too.
Mm-hmm.
If we are here to keep something else alive that's so much bigger than ourselves, who's not to say we're not doing the same?
Right.
And who's not to say that can't get old and die?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I believe right now. God, it's one of the rocket places. I'm doing a terrible job explaining it, but there's a satellite out in space right now that apparently is trying to capture photos from either the past or the future.
Oh, the James Webb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because that, like, what does that mean? And it's basically that it's catching, because by the time we see something, what is it, it's a couple million light years in the past,
everything to do with how far it is from
Yeah.
us, so it can change.
So if we see something, we're theoretically looking at the past because the light has already reflected to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think their mission is to try to like see it in person or live feed of it. I believe that's the idea, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So what's to say we can't find another universe out there? Like you said, the edge of the universe, but like we just call it the edge of the universe because that's as far as we can see it.
Yeah.
We don't know what else is out there. We could be in a pool of a multiverse. The other planets like Jupiter or anything might have been other planets that we are neighbors with that didn't work out because they all had their own. The only reason that Earth is able to have humans to host them is because it has the right amount of water and air in Earth that we are allowed, that we can continue to move and breed and all that. Other planets don't have that. It's either too cold or too hot. So maybe those are other multiverses that just didn't make it. So in our little pocket of the universe, that's as far as we can. That's the farthest multiverses as we can see thus far. But it doesn't mean that there's probably other ones out there.
And see, so you think we could like see other universes versus it being like just so far out? So I feel like we just keep looking out and out.
Yeah.
Out. I hope too.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid it'll just forever just be looking out and out and out and out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine seeing a barrier.
Yeah.
I don't even understand how to think. Like I see it, I've seen it visually, but how do you comprehend that?
It's so weird.
We've never seen an edge.
Did you ever watch Futurama?
Yes, I loved it.
Do you remember? I can't remember exactly the circumstances. I think they were like on a tour or like a Disneyland kind of joke, where they look through a pair of binoculars that you would like at a like a New York, so you can see the rest of the city.
Building or something.
Yeah, but the idea was that you can see the edge of the universe, and when they look through, they could see other versions of themselves wearing cowboy hats and mustaches.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And they're waving back at them. That's kind of what I imagine. Like, oh, they see the same thing we see right now.
Well, okay, so on that thought, think about the theory I was pitching, because we have so many different cells in our body, and they all work very similar. Almost all of them have the exact same DNA that other cells have, even if they don't express what like another cell might be expressing in that DNA. What if it's like that?
Yeah, I believe so, because I guess the idea of multiverse stems out from a choice that you make. So if you chose the banana versus an apple in the morning, how does that affect the rest of your day? So you have to imagine there's a billion more people of yourselves that did choose the banana at the same time. Like there's plenty that chose the banana versus others that chose the orange.
Some had an orange with the breakfast sandwich.
Yeah. So some didn't pick any of it and went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole bunch of different choices that kind of align through the same idea the same choice that you made.
I love that idea. I also hate it because I've thought about this. So I'm responsible for me. But if there's like so many more of me, are we the same and responsible for each other and thus carry each other's bullshit or lack thereof? Or are we truly like individuals? So in this case, like, is there a Haley out there that has just done some awful fucking crimes that I'd be really ashamed of?
Yeah.
Because there's supposed to be all these possibilities that we've done in this multiverse. We've done all of them. And is there one that's, a fucking saint and like, I don't know, I'm a nun in a nunnery. Exactly.
Is there the Haleyest Haley and the worst Haley?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, I want to find out, and then I start thinking about like some of the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And like don't want to know if some of me out there have been that way.
Yeah. I think it's possible. I don't think you should be responsible for them, as much as Doctor Strange would lead you to believe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're responsible for your other alternate selves' choices. If there's a Haley out there that's a psycho murderer, that's the life she chose. There's like nothing you can really do about it.
What's the name of it's Terry on the Rick and Morty, but not Rick and Morty, solar opposites.
Yeah.
Terry and solar opposites when he time keeps changing for him. And so he becomes that psycho
That's
murderer
right.
being. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Corvo keeps sending letters to him in the past to make him change things that are annoying.
That's right. Because they were doing what was it? The Lake House? They were doing a Lake House joke? I don't know do you remember that movie?
I must not have seen it.
That's also...
I mean, the concept was fun either way.
I don't know if that's a... You tell me what you think this... It's a story where a guy would mail a letter to a girl... Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. Keanu would send a letter to Sandra from the future, and he would leave it in his mailbox, and she would receive it in the past, and vice versa. I think that's how they were communicating with each other.
Interesting.
And I think that's the joke that Solar Opposites was doing, where he would just put a letter inside a mailbox, and it would go over to Terry.
Okay.
I think that's the joke that they were making.
I love the... Are you eating cereal with a fork? Yes, I like the tines on my teeth. He's like, just, all right, gotta mail another letter.
I gotta watch that show again. It's such a good show.
It is.
What would... I guess that'd be more time travel than it would multiverse. Because they eventually... I think they eventually meet each other.
That's true. That's true.
But that's also kind of, in itself, multiversal.
But, like, are we individuals, then? Like, am I me, Haley, and she, Haley?
I would think so, yeah. Like, using the Doctor Strange movies as examples, like, there's the one from Universe 818 or something? The one with the X-Men.
Yeah.
That Doctor Strange seemed to have it all on lock. He seemed to, like, be okay. He just kind of just went off the path. And then his own friends from that universe had to kill him off. Spoiler alert.
And we're past that point.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you haven't watched it, it's your fault now.
It comes out in Disney Plus, on the 22nd? Doctor Strange?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Some of us reporters. So sorry.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
But it seemed like the Illuminati wanted to hold our Doctor Strange responsible for the stuff that their Doctor Strange did, but I was totally on Doctor Strange's side, like, no, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
This isn't my bag.
That's a good example, because I forgot about that, but that is how I felt when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just a mindfuck to think that there would be another me.
I wouldn't feel responsible for Murderous Morgan. Like, I don't think I should be held responsible for that guy. It's like the idea of cell formulation. Like, if one is similar to another one but has just something off, would you do anything about it?
Might depend. Cancer,
right? So,
because then that would be like a...
But is it the responsibility of another cell that's in there that's similar to it? Should you take that one out too? Because it
That's what radiation is. Actually, it is chemotherapy.
Okay, so
but that's me being I'm being real stickler.
No,
here.
this is also very good points, because that's kind of what they were trying to do as well. That was their logic to get rid of our Doctor Strange, is that no, you could potentially cause another conversion just like ours did, so we have to kill you off too. But it's an owl.
Okay. Sorry, I was like, this sound. It's gonna drive me crazy if I don't ask.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm so sorry.
There's an owl that usually hangs out in the chimney formations.
A real owl?
I assume, because it always hoots.
Oh, it always hoots
in the summer.
Went to a different universe where there's owls.
We got distracted. There's owls. Sorry, everyone. There's owls happening. No more multiverse class.
A lot of hooters over here.
It's a hoot.
Okay, so we were saying, like, the surrounding cells do get killed because that is what chemotherapy does.
Yeah.
And so then, yes, it does get held responsible in a way, but not really, like, strictly. Yeah. And they were doing that with the X-Men.
Yes.
Or the X-Men were doing that with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, the Illuminati. Yeah. So, but I guess I should explain this, if no one really understood what it meant. They were talking about convergence. Was it convergence? Yeah. Convergence? Yeah. Think about this. Meow Wolf downtown in Convergence. The idea behind that in the Marvel comics is that it's two universes that are like way too close to each other, and at that point they're going to make contact. So at that point, one or both universes will just disappear or like get destroyed.
Okay.
So their logic is that if our Doctor Strange is in their universe, that's potentially the cancerous cell that could make another convergence happen.
You're messing with time and space. Doctor Strange already knows better than to do that, and yet it's happening.
Yeah.
So, no, that's okay.
So logically, yes, I understand their reasoning that they would want to get rid of a Doctor Strange, but it's not. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They're just taking precautions because they don't know whether or not this is gonna. If they don't kill him, maybe nothing happens. If they do kill him, maybe something doesn't happen.
I mean, if we keep comparing it to cancer cells
Yes.
versus and like how to take care of them, that would be interesting because cancer cells are cells that are trying to do an extra good job.
Yeah.
And that's how that happens. Even though it's not an extra good job, it's actually really bad for you. And like in this case, Doctor Strange is like, I'm here to save everything, and things are getting fucked up around him.
Yeah.
He already messed up, like in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, he should not have listened to Spider-Man.
No.
That's Doctor Strange. Come on, you're so much smarter than that.
What selfless plug. Watch my video on YouTube that I made to explain all of that.
He's extraordinarily humble.
I'm very proud of that because Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel, he said I was right. Just saying.
Did he say that at you?
No, but he said it.
He said it.
He said it like we were talking. So
Gotcha.
I'm right.
Just without like saying it to you.
Yes.
But I did see it. You are right. He did agree with your theory.
Well,
even though he don't know it.
Well, seeing as if we're on the subject, let me bring it back around that in the Marvel Universe, the reason all of this started was Peter Parker, because in his own world, hold on.
No.
This goes for, like, this blooms.
Okay.
In his story, he just wanted to fix a couple of villains and send them home. That's a very humbling, that's a very good idea, to show that you're a very good person.
Yeah.
That threw so many waves into the multiverse that it disrupted everything. So, like, that's also a very good reason of showing how, like, one little decision could change just the people around you. So that was kind of just a drop in the lake that started this huge domino effect that causes the conversions to start hitting each other, that causes Loki to, like, realize that there's, this facade that's protecting us. Like, all of this happened because one kid tried to do the right thing.
Moral of the story is be fucking mean.
Just be mean all the time.
Just say, I don't care.
Send those villains to their death.
Kill them.
Kill them.
Be Murderous Morgan.
Be Murderous Morgan. I don't like that guy. I'm not
I like
affiliated
that
with
name.
that guy.
It was like, it's going to be used every once in a while. Murderous Morgan. Well, okay, so I'm keeping with this, but I'm going back to Convergence a little bit. In the movie, because we're on the movie too, they talk about that gap junction.
Yes.
And the gap junction, they explained, was the area in between universes, like a space.
Yes.
Could be a liminal space.
Could be liminal.
It is.
When I saw it in the movie, it was all broken into pieces and everything.
Yeah.
I would assume at one point it wasn't broken in pieces and it was all just one whatever it could have been, but I imagine it to be a linear space.
I kind of thought it was things that got passed through different universes.
That
and
makes
just kind of
sense.
Stuck.
Yeah.
But I have a reason for that.
That's the void in Loki. Think about it. The void at the end of the universe.
Yeah.
That's where everything drops off. That would be our linear space for the Marvel Universe, where it's just a place that exists to die off.
Okay, I follow you there.
Yeah.
It still would tie into the gap junction, though, because
yes.
the purpose... So I was saying that, like, maybe the multiverse is cellular and quantum functions happening in the trillions and trillions, and the gap junction is a cellular term that has to do with transferring information between cells. And so when you think of it that way, it's interesting because there's so many things your cells do. They pass basically chemicals to each other that work like a lock, and when it goes to the other cell, if that lock doesn't work, it doesn't pass through.
Right.
But if the lock does, and then it turns on whatever it needs to help your body. You eat food, some chemicals start up, and your cells get that little lock, and it starts digesting.
Yeah.
That would be an example of it.
Okay.
So the gap junction is almost everything that's happening in your body has that gap junction.
Okay.
And I found it interesting that they chose that word for that purpose.
Yeah.
Because when you watch the gap junction in the movie, there's all those, and that's why I think everything's coming from different universes and just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
I don't think they fit the lock.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're stuck in there, but they can't get through.
Yeah,
versus
they can't make a...
Doctor Strange knows how to unlock it, which, if we want to compare it that way, that's how, like, drugs take over certain spots of your brain where, like, other chemicals should be.
Right.
Or there's
that in between cells.
Serotonin reuptakers would be an example. Probably a better example, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would basically be that key that's almost working better and more effectively in hijacking the locks, since he's bouncing in between.
In between the
Wanda
worlds.
would too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I assumed, I don't know this for, I assumed there was other doorways and pathways to other universes that could get into that same junction, and then maybe they broke.
Well, I mean,
is that also kind of the idea?
Yes, because, like, if there's a gap junction, cells, while they're tightly packed together, it doesn't mean there's not space between them.
Right.
And same thing with atoms. Like, I'm squishing my fingers together, and you can't see this because we're recording, but when I do, scientifically, there are enough atoms in between there, I'm not actually ever touching my finger.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
You can feel
you.
Yeah.
I didn't actually poke you in a way, though.
You can feel it.
Yes.
You can feel the sensation.
Your atoms feel other atoms pushing against each other, but there is a gap. And that's what's crazy, is at the atomic level, there's always a gap.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, if you scale down, you're probably looking at a bunch of weirdly shaped bubbles that always have a little space around it.
Yeah.
And so think about the pictures of the multiverse you've seen and how
Ant-Man.
they have that. Yes.
Ant-Man shrinks into the quantum realm.
Yep.
And it kind of has that shape. And they said it in a way that if you were to go into one of the crystallized things, that's probably a universe he might have slipped into.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So it might look like my phone, very, very dense. There's not a lot to get through there, but there's still space in between every atom here. That goes the same for your cells.
Huh.
Yes. There's an emergency.
Is that a fire truck? It's fine. It'll be fine.
All right.
Yeah. So it's fascinating how, because we're talking about kind of three individual things: cellular levels, versus the multiverse, versus Doctor Strange the movie itself, to explain, and the MCU, I guess, to explain it in context.
Yeah.
How it all fits. It all just makes sense the way we're kind of explaining it, and even science kind of explains it that way.
Boba.
Boba?
Listen. Think about large containers of boba.
Boba tea.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I mean full of boba with water around it.
Yeah.
Like the water would be the gap junction.
Yes.
All the bobas are your little universes.
That's
like the best visual I can come up with.
That's exactly what people have. The first few pictures of a multiverse kind of look like planets in line with each other. They all look like a line.
Okay.
And I like that idea, but I always imagined it like that, like we're all just like in a soup.
Yeah, because we're not linear. There's so many patterns in the universe, and that's what the golden ratio is all about. But none of it's ever truly like exact.
No.
And so that's how I would imagine it.
It's always a different shape and form. It like you would look inside through a magnifying glass or something to look at cells.
Yeah, there's like a chaos factor to everything.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. So like, here's some pictures. This is at first people kind of explained it like it's one Earth behind another Earth behind another Earth behind another Earth. That makes sense. That's why I kind of like the idea that like Jupiter or Saturn maybe were Earths, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That didn't make it. because they didn't have the right air or structure for humans.
I see what you're saying.
And then, wait, where's that picture? And then people started realizing it more like lines of planets in line with each other.
Like a grid?
Like a grid, yeah. But then, it makes more sense that it feels more cellular. Like it's all just bundled in together.
Yeah.
And maybe not our Earth, but our galaxy would be that bubble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, no, that's exactly how I see it.
So if there's an edge, that's probably the bubble.
Which I would call the membrane.
Yes. All right, perfect. Yeah. Science!
Aha! To be fair, I've only taken like one biology class, but there's just a lot. It was really cool, and I compare a lot to the universe from it. I've always enjoyed like learning about space. So like once I took that class and started reading more about both, it just like wait.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just being really imaginative, and I'm not going to apologize for that, but yeah.
Yeah, but it works just the same, like exactly the same. How wild that is. And then, I don't know, like, the way that the Marvel Universe is explaining it is the best way that everybody, the public audience can understand it.
I think they did a great job of it.
Yeah.
Very, very visually.
Like, did you watch Everything Everywhere?
Not yet. No, I keep wanting to. I think it's, like, out of theaters now or something. But
if
thought about going Monday.
It's also on demand now. You can either wait a week and you can rent it, or you can purchase it outright.
Okay, might do that.
But if Doctor Strange was like the comic book version of quantum physics, Everything Everywhere at Once was kind of like the book that you study at school.
Okay.
Because it was far more complex ideas just being thrown at your face that you just kind of have to follow. You kind of just have to accept yes and versus Doctor Strange was a very proper way to like draw it out for the audience so they can understand in a very easy chewable tablet, like, oh, that's the multiverse. Okay, it's not a physical plane we go to, it's another universe that exists like ours.
I could agree with that. I also was kind of thinking that before I saw the movie, though, so it just made sense as I was seeing it, like, holy shit, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that thinks this way.
Because it's weird when people say into the multiverse, or like, we're going into it. Like, what into it do you mean? And the way that Doctor Strange does it, he just literally just flips through pages of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Into the multiverse. That's what that is. Also, MOM, Mom, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was the best way that could be described, into the multiverse. But like the multiverse itself is far more complex and far bigger than we can ever imagine.
Oh yeah.
And Everything Everywhere at Once does a better job at that.
I always imagine that to understand it is to be more confused and scared.
Yes.
Like, and it's the thing is I would never not try and understand it. If I could find answers, I would. But I think in a way, it would just make you insane. Whatever it is that's out there, however you can understand the functions of time and space and the multiverse, it's too crazy. Like, it's already hard to understand.
Yeah, and that's why it's funner to just imagine a what if, like, because what if you found out? Like, what if that's you found out? Yeah, there's another multiverse and you live in it and you're just this completely other person.
Rick put it a really good way on Rick and Morty. He's like, when you realize when you're a smart person, you stop recognizing yourself. And like something about how suddenly the universe doesn't matter because it's all yours.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think that's what he said. He was saying it to Beth.
He was being. It's almost a narcissistic quote, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because it's
on
coming
his
out.
part,
It's coming out of Rick.
He's being a narcissist.
Yeah.
He thinks it fully versus someone saying it about him.
Yeah.
But I understand the sentiment.
Yeah.
And I think that's
because it's the idea. Whenever someone tells you, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you need to do, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the world ends with you. Like, you're the one that has to decide it. So that's kind of his logic as
Yeah.
well. That the universe doesn't matter because now you're just sort of like you realize that it's you. You can do it, and we're all connected, and we're all probably almost the same person in some cellular way.
Yeah.
Like you and I get along perfectly well, but we're different people.
Oh yeah.
But you have to imagine on a molecular level, we're cells that are similar. Same with all our friends and
Exactly.
families. Like
we carry like you have the same genetic makeup I do.
Yes.
But we express things differently.
Yeah.
Which makes
So
us different.
We could say right now, all of us in this world, we're all multiversal versions of ourselves.
Interesting. Okay.
You see what I mean?
That. If it was that, do you realize what a mindfuck that would be for so many of us? Though?
Yes.
Like we, just like wait.
It's because like
Are you like? Am I murderous Morgan? But like really, I'm Haley.
maybe like we're talking about last episode about the bathroom universe. Why do we all have that same dream? What if we're all just kind of multiversal cells of one self? Because there's that idea that we're all one. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Like we're all just one. We all think on a cellular level that we all feel each other's energies.
Very. Would you say that like in a we share energy kind of way, or in a assimilation and be kind of way?
Not even. I imagine it like a pool of water full of people.
Okay.
Where someone bumps against the water and like they jump a little and then the next person jumps a little and it creates a tidal wave of people.
Okay.
Like we're not all strictly connected to each other, but we cast waves upon each other's lives and thought patterns.
Okay.
To where that's kind of the connection between each other. Like me and your husband, we get along by talking about Marvel movies because we are so deeply entrenched into the comic book universe.
Yes.
So we can sit there for hours and just talk about it. How do we find that tone? Like me and him immediately got it on because
it was real quick.
We understood that level of nerdiness. What's to say that it wasn't? We're not, alternate. Well, I use that term.
Yeah.
But like, that idea that our cells are all kind of just the same.
I like that.
You see what I mean? Like it's
such a mindfuck though.
It dives deeper than just there's an evil Morgan and a good Morgan. Far deeper than that. Like it could be that we can connect with animals in a way. Like it
would just mean that we're all different, the same. I wouldn't even say the same and different. I just mean different, the same. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I don't want it conflicting, but then it'd be like taking for instance, these astronauts that
the little astronaut that I've been
this
making?
particular company has a bunch of people painting, because I don't know if I can say their name, but like you painted it this like with this space and time thing going on, versus I've seen some people paint it to look just like an astronaut, or paint it to maybe have pot leaves all over it. And
variation,
but it's still the same. It's just
basically like a pop figure, a blank pop figure that people. Yeah, it's same example.
Wait, a what figure?
Pop figure.
Pop figure.
Those the big headed bubble toys.
Yeah, I have one. His name's Hup.
I have so many. I have so many Doctor Who's that I realize that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the idea that it's made out of one shape, big head, little body, and then they just add different looks to it, so it looks like an Anakin Skywalker, or it looks like a Luke Skywalker, or a Spider-Man, or a 12th Doctor, but it's the same structure, big head, little body.
It would make so many people's egos go away, or like really hurt their egos.
What do you mean?
Well, like, I don't know. I guess I went to church a lot, and I already know that concept, like most our concepts, would not be accepted. But your concept in particular that we're talking about with like, here's this blank copy, but we put a dress on one and a t-shirt and jeans on the other.
Yeah.
Like, Christian, at least Catholics, could not handle that.
No.
They can't. They already, like, very, and I can say this because I used to be fundamentalist, they already strongly believe, like, animals are very beneath them. There's kind of a God, man, wife, children, submissive line, and to say that, you know, like, animals might even be as smart as us.
What's the man on top?
I've had men get upset about that. I've been told that's just not the case. Like, they're blank.
Yeah.
They are blank, and we're, like God said, like, he gave us the animals, and we take care of them, and we're in charge. And, like, not necessarily, but sure, that's what that book says.
Yeah.
This concept right here would not.
No.
That would be such an ego, like, shot to the ego.
But here's the weird part that never made sense to me when I was going to church when I was younger. We were made out of Adam and Eve. Eve was made out of the ribs of Adam, right?
Yes.
And then they conceived a child. At one point, there had to have been an incest in order to make more population. At some point, incest had to happen for us to exist.
Yes.
So that is not at all a crazier idea than to say that we're all pop figures and they're throwing stuff at us.
Don't question my beliefs.
How dare you?
I know what I believe and I stand by. But yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't make any more sense than that, unless that's also kind of the idea.
I would prefer that than the part where incest had to happen.
Yeah.
To make it all work.
Like the idea that creation came or man came from Adam and Eve falls apart when you realize incest had to happen at some point. Like, and how do you even begin to answer? She came from his ribs,
right?
Like, what does that mean?
I have to, like, this is a quick pause on that. No, you don't have to pause it. Not really pause it, but my grandma, my dad's mom, they're both batshit crazy. So we'll just put that out there.
Right.
But she taught my dad growing up, and he never really did believe her, but she tried to teach me the same, that all men had one missing rib.
I've heard that too.
Look, I've listened to her be like,
I've counted my ribs, and I'm almost sure that's a lie.
Right?
Hold on. I'm almost sure that I would feel a difference immediately. Like, oh, this feels a little lopsided.
It's like, have you ever seen there's, even in the 90s, there was pictures of human skeletons, particularly males, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They all look the same.
Like,
but
you can't live without the amount of ribs you have, right? Like,
no, you could. People have removed their ribs for aesthetic reasons. You can absolutely live like that.
Did Marilyn Manson actually do that?
That one, no, that's not true.
I don't think that's
true.
True.
There's this girl, she's like the Barbie doll.
Is she
or
the
something.
Barbie girl?
The Barbie girl, yeah.
Yeah,
she has removed her ribs.
That
is true.
Oof.
There's that's why she's so...
Yeah, because at first I thought it was like one of those, what do you call them?
It's both.
It's both.
It's both. Yeah, she got the corset, but it wasn't tight enough. I watched like a short documentary on it.
I think I've heard of that one.
It was interesting, but it was a long time ago, so I don't know how short it was. I say short. But essentially, she was doing that, and just slowly over time was changing stuff, and like your typical plastic surgery story.
Right.
Today, she looks not very human. Nothing against you, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Do you be Barbie?
It's fine.
I respect, but
yeah.
That's why there's like, yeah. She managed to do the Uncanny Valley a bit. Speaking of Uncanny Valleys.
I don't understand why you would ever do that to your body, but all right, whatever. It's strange.
She claims that she feels very good this way. This is what she's always wanted. Good for you, girlfriend.
You know what it's like? Character customizations in video games.
Yeah. I always think about that with my piercings and hair and makeup.
Yeah.
I like literally think about, like, all right, so I'm doing this one.
Yeah. Or cutting my hair in a certain way, or like dressing in a certain way. I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, that's what you brought up the ribs and how that's what Eve was made out of, and it reminded me of my grandma just insisting that men really had one less rib than women.
Yeah, and that's the multiverse, you see? You see how that works?
Yes.
It's a multiverse of madness.
Crazy fucking shit. Batshit crazy.
Haley,
Yes.
do you know what?
Yes, Morgan.
Do you know what time it is?
It's
Time for recommendation.
what?
Do you have a recommendation?
I do, actually. I have watched this new show by Christy Carcass called Ballmaster 9009 and
Excuse you?
Ballmaster. But it's a great show. It's made by the same guy who did Super Jail, and I really love that whole aesthetic and that like crazy chaos, like kill everything but everything's fine.
Doesn't it at some points become like a Where's Waldo kind of insanity where there's so much on the screen?
That's why I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's great to eat a sandwich and then sit down and watch this show. Sadly, there's only 2 seasons, but man, I really got into it. It's a great story. It's highly underrated. They just didn't get a lot out there. Not enough people knew about it.
Yeah.
It literally, after it was canceled, more people started discovering it, and it's too late now. I'm so sad, but Ballmaster, watch it. The Earth is saved by a weird demigod, by a sport that is called a game because they hate sports now. Done.
Nice.
Highly recommend.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yes.
I want to recommend a movie I saw this week. I was going to say Bob's Burgers. Check out Bob's Burgers if you can, but that's not the one I'm recommending. It's called Interstate 60.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
I have. I know nothing about it, though.
I don't know where to begin with this one. It kind of tells the story of this guy who wants to have a better life. So this like magical guy comes into his life and grants him his wish.
Okay.
And it's done in a very interesting way where he doesn't. His wish is he wants an answer. And that like this is what gets the magical guy kind of like thinking, because mostly people will be like, oh, I want a new car, or oh, I want to eat for, never feel hungry, just keep eating, and then he'll just punish them by giving them their, it's a monkey paw, like, okay, yeah, you can have this, but something bad's gonna happen. Okay. This is the first time that someone stumped him where he's like, I want an answer to what's next in life. So the guy, this magical guy, is played by Gary Oldman. He was Sirius in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, the best character.
He decides to grant his wish in a form of going through a road trip from, I believe it's like California to a place called Danvers. Okay. He mistakes it for Denver. He goes, he tells him that he has to deliver this package to Denver. He goes, oh, is this Denver? He goes, no, Danver. He goes, there's no such thing. He goes, well, you have to find out whether or not it's true. Okay. So he goes cross country, and he finds himself in certain stop points like you would in a road trip, and each thing becomes like a parable for something about it in his life for him to understand.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I'll give you one. The original Pink Ranger from the Power Rangers. Yeah. She is in this movie as this hitchhiker girl that he picks up who happens to be horny all the time. Okay. And she's trying to look for the perfect fuck. That's her quote. She tries to look for the perfect fuck because she said that the first time she had sex, it was amazing. Yeah. And then she thought, what's it like to have it again? So she has it again with another person, and it's amazing. So it got into her head that she got obsessed with this idea. What if the next guy is the perfect lay? Or what if the guy before that is, or after that is the perfect lay? Like, it drove her nuts that she needs to, like, find the perfect fuck in order for her to, like, finally get that out of her head. So she travels cross country to try to sleep with every man she finds in the road to see if she can find the perfect sex. And the guy of the story denies her. Yeah. And it drives her insane because she's like, what? No. And he's like, you know what? And I'm probably the best lay you'll never get. It just drives her crazy.
That sounds really interesting.
And,
I want to see it.
And through that parable, he understood the answer is not sex. Sex is fun. Okay. We can have sex. And sex is good. Make sex. Have fun. Yeah. That's not the answer to life. That's not what you're looking for. And like each little pit stop he makes, he learns a little lesson like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, Interstate 60.
Interstate 60. I
Yeah.
remember that.
I watched it on Pluto. I heard it was on Hulu, but when I asked my TV, it gave me Hulu or Pluto.
Gotcha.
But yeah, early, or what was it, 2001?
Okay, so it's older.
And you can feel it. You can feel the early 2000 in this. like ooh, everybody's hair, their cell phones that they're using, the visual effects. Like, ooh, this is timely, and I like it. There's a joke. What was it? Somebody falls over and like, someone call an ambulance. And at that time, cell phones were new, so the joke was everybody picked up their like giant blocks of phones, dialing the phone, and that was the joke. I'm like, oh, that joke's gonna get funnier.
Oh yeah, those like chunky singular phones.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, I remember those.
And the joke's only gonna get funnier when it's people taking pictures. But yeah, that's my recommendation.
Hell yeah, have to watch it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this class of the multiverse. I could keep going for hours about the multiverse, but
I could too, but there's a
Also, in order to talk about the multiverse, one must make a circle, and it just goes back around to the same conversations.
It's a multiverse.
Yeah.
Help.
Luckily, we had three junctions. Huh?
Oh.
We had 3 junctions to like pivot
So
off
many
of.
gaps.
We could probably throw a whole bunch more, but we won't. Maybe we will sometime in the future. I don't know.
You can see. I have so many more ideas on it that I could go through.
Yeah. Just the idea that I came up with today about like us being multiversal selves is kind of a fun idea.
Right?
That like I never actually thought of it until I just said it out loud. I'm like, oh. Right.
Moral of the story is, you are a god.
The moral of the story is, we are all made out of stardust.
This shows who's humble and who's not.
I guess that like we're about to wrap up, but like that's the idea of we're all made out of stardust. We're all made out of the same thing.
Yes.
Wrap your head around that. That blows your mind.
Neil deGrasse Tyson said it.
Yep. Who Carl Sagan said it first.
Because that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson said it, because he was under his wing.
Yeah, but Carl Sagan, we can talk about him for hours too.
I don't know about you for hours.
Yeah, but we'll try to come up with a thing. I'll talk about Carl, you talk about I just lost his name.
With Neil.
Neil, yeah, because I've always been familiar with his stuff, but like I didn't really follow it as much, and I'm kind of a fan of Carl Sagan. So yeah, it would be kind of fun if we did like a podcast where we just like talk about what they're like.
Love that.
That'd be fun.
They're awesome peeps.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, this is my sister from another Mr. Haley.
This is my bestie from another Testy Morgan.
That's the one. We are all made out of stardust. Goodbye.
Bye.